So let me begin by introducing you, please, to Jordan. Jordan Diwali is a graduate from 2017 and currently is employed at GE Appliances Canada. He began working there and has been there for about 4 years. He started as a product specialist and has continued to be promoted to the role he holds today, which is product manager for GE's built-in cooking products. Welcome, Jordan.
Thank you.
Continuing on, Clayton. Clayton Arnold is a graduate of our program from 2014. And I'm going to ask him if I mispronounce the name of his company, Octo. Is that correct, Clayton?
Nailed it.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. So Clayton graduated from business marketing at Mohawk in 2014 and began his career with an international marketing agency as an account manager. After developing skills in content creation, website design, graphic design, and more, he pivoted to become a marketing manager with an industrial surplus company. Leveraging everything he has learned, he now oversees all aspects of marketing for Octo Incorporated. To remain involved in the local community, Clayton partnered with a fellow Mohawk graduate to form the marketing company. The marketing company's goal is to work with small local businesses and introduce them to the fundamentals of marketing without breaking the budget. In his spare time, Clayton likes to spend time outdoors with his fiance and Boston Terrier named Stella. Happy to have you with us today, Clayton.
Thanks for having me.
And Mike Mitchell. Mike is a marketing manager at Sunrise Records and a 2013 graduate of our program. Mike initially attended Mohawk College in 2005 for broadcast journalism and resumed his education in 2012 in the business marketing program. During that time, he represented Mohawk College in the Ontario College's marketing competition in 2012. Beginning with an internship at Canada's oldest independent record label, True North Records, Mike has enjoyed a variety of marketing roles across different verticals. Over the last 8 years, Mike has made stops at Chorus, BlackBerry, Go Easy, and Torstar. Mike has been the marketing manager for Sunrise Records, Canada's only record store chain, since July of 2019. In 2020, Mike created, wrote, produced, and acted in the TV show This Is the Thing, coming to Bell 5 TV1 in April 2021. Welcome, Mike.
Hey, thanks for having me.
What I'd like to suggest now is I will proceed to asking some questions of the panel. And what we will do is we will start moving left to right. And after the panelist has answered the question for us, we'll invite any of the other panelists if they would like to share an answer as well. So beginning then with you, Jordan, my question for you is, what resources should new graduates use to find work in the field? Oh, we can't hear you.
I'm muted. It just popped up on my screen.
Sorry.
Well,
yeah.
Thanks, Janice. So for starters, I would definitely keep all of your colleagues at Mohawk close by. I believe you mentioned Clayton actually started a business with somebody that he met at Mohawk. And I know at my work, I work with a lot of Mohawk grads as well. It's just something that, especially when you're all in the marketing program together, you share a lot of the same interests, and down the road, it could be very, very beneficial. So that's more or less from a people standpoint. When you look to places, even before COVID, everything has gone online. I recommend always having your LinkedIn up to date, even if you're not looking for jobs. And if you are looking for jobs, looking at places like Indeed or Glassdoor, when you can learn a little more of not only the business that you want to work for, but the jobs that you're applying for, so you can go into those discussions knowing I guess like some things like what salary you deserve for that position, or where that job's actually going to be located, or what it's like to work for those types of companies. And probably one of the last places that I would look, and it's quite an interesting website, is called Charity Village. And it's actually a job website strictly for not-for-profits. So if you're looking to really give back to the community, that would be my suggestion, to look at places like that.
Thank you, Jordan. I think this is a really important question. So I would like to, I think, ask each of the panelists this. Certainly you shared a lot of valuable information there. Moving to you, Clayton, I will ask you the question. I'll read it one more time. What resources should new graduates use to find work in the field?
So I think Jordan hit on a lot of really good concepts. A couple ones I would add. Certainly making sure you're staying involved at Mohawk. There's always a job board there that shares a lot of postings and what's available. That's something you can use quite often. And even if you are struggling to find a position after that, there is a Mohawk actually job center. I can't remember its name off the top of my head, but you are actually able to have them help you and help look for positions as well. So it's quite useful. My other tip would be using your network, leveraging, going on LinkedIn, talking to people you know. There, chances are there's always somebody out there who needs marketing help, whether it is just a one-time thing or part-time thing, or sometimes even just a freelance thing. So just start having conversations with people. You'll be surprised where it takes you a lot of the time.
Okay, interesting. Thank you. And lastly, but not leastly, Mike Mitchell.
Yeah, I mean, I think the other two guys hit the nail on the head there. Networking has been pretty much the key for me, going from place to place. I can trace back every single job I have to journalism school, actually. So it's I kept in touch with people that I went to school with 8 years before I went back to school for marketing, and kind of went from there. Yeah, it's important to keep in touch and also not burn any bridges. I'd say you never really know when anybody is going to be available and looking for any of your help. And one thing that I started doing actually early on as well with LinkedIn specifically is I would look for jobs. I would look for companies that I was interested in, cruise jobs, but always I would follow the companies and turn on job alerts, because even if they're not hiring right now, you don't know when they may be hiring. And it might be one of those things too, where if you see a great job and you're not necessarily qualified for it right away, that's okay. You don't know, what your immediate future is going to bring in terms of gaining skills and perspective on things. So with that, I've started following jobs, companies and jobs, and kind of kept an eye on. It kind of gives you a good benchmark for skills to acquire as well, if there's a company that you really want to get in with. But yeah, I mean, the other guys kind of hit the nail on the head with that for sure.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, all three of you, for those answers. All right, my next question, I will begin with Clayton, please. And here is the question. What is one piece of advice or knowledge you wish you had known when you graduated from Mohawk?
One piece of advice I wish I'd known is, that's a good question. In marketing, I find, especially as you get more and more out in the field, is some things are going to fail. Your ideas aren't going to go as planned. Things aren't going to work out, and there's really sometimes nothing you can do about it. And the best piece of advice I could give, or wish I'd known at the time, was don't take that personally if something does not go as planned. I've seen a lot of really skilled people take failures for campaigns as a personal slight on their ability, when really I find most of the time in marketing, 90% of the time, things are going to fail, and only 10% of the time you're going to be successful. So it's just making sure that you have the ability to stay dedicated, keep working, and really just don't give up on yourself, and be able to trust your abilities. There's a lot of imposter syndrome that goes around, and just knowing at the end of the day that you've done your best and you're doing everything that you believe is right, you tend to get to the right place you want to be.
Very good. Thank you. Mike, I'll pose the question of you as well, if I may. What is one piece of advice or knowledge you wish you had known when you graduated from Mohawk?
Yeah, there's a few. I think the biggest thing for me has been there's no such thing as a missed opportunity. I think that when I was coming up to ending my time at Mohawk, and even since then, I have taken every opportunity as like a make or break, and it's not really the case. And there's always experience to be gained. Back to like the Clayton's point, when things fail, there's a ton of experience to be gleaned from that. Or maybe you find a great position and you think you're 1,000% perfect for it. You go through 3 rounds of interviews and you don't get the job. And you might think, oh, I failed at this. Well, not really. I mean, you got industry experience interviewing for a position. You went through 3 rounds of interviews, and you picked up some interview tips. So there's always something to be learned at every step of the way. Learning doesn't really stop in the industry or really with anything when you finish school. So I think that's probably the main one for me. There's silver linings to everything.
Very good. Thank you. And Jordan.
Both of these guys had very, very good answers. Clayton, I have written in bold here, do not take anything personally, because that is the key. And I've found myself experiencing that right out of school as well. Clayton talked about something called the imposter syndrome. And that's pretty much the belief that when you're in a job position that you're not good enough. You're not really qualified for the job. And I know a lot of you are in school right now, but when you get into the job, it is possible you will face this, because even when I came out of school, I faced this. But you have to realize everybody's in the same boat. If people are yelling at you because, let's just say, a project failed, well, you either win or you learn, right? There is no losing. You're going to take all your losses, and that's the experience that you go home with. Definitely when you do get into the workplace, coming back to the fact that don't take anything personally, that goes with your coworkers as well. Because, well, for my position, I'm in the product position, not fully on, the marketing advertising section, but I have to let people down. I got to tell them, our supplier can't fulfill this order. Okay, well, they know they're going to get a mouthful from their salesperson. So they're going to give me a mouthful, and I just have to sit there and, and take it on the chin. And you can't take that personally out on that person, because there's a lot of emotions with regards to the business world. And again, when all is said and done, your job is what you do. It's not who you are. So don't take anything home with you when you log out at night. That's kind of one thing that I really wish I knew, not only just leaving college, but hopping into the workplace, is to not take anything personally.
Okay, thank you. All right, our third question, and I'd like to start with you this time, Mike. What do you see as trends in your sector, or more broadly in sales and marketing, that our new graduates should know about?
Oh man, with retail specifically, it's been crazy. I think everyone's kind of gone through the same thing in the last year, and not really knowing what is going to be happening in a couple of weeks, let alone a couple of months or a year later. The industry has pretty much been flipped on its head. But I think a lot of the stuff that's been happening, not only in Canada, but in the United States, both in politics and at a social level, people are very interested in transparency and authenticity. And that's one of those things that it's not always 100% achievable, to be perfectly honest. But that being said, people don't really want to be marketed or advertised to. Everyone knows, everyone's seen how the sausage is made with influencers and a lot of campaigns, and things are kind of moving at a light speed, where trends are really picking up steam very, very quickly, and then they burn out just as quickly, right? So I think that younger generations are very aware when they're being advertised to, and they're not really into it, and people are kind of wary of brands that aren't transparent. So I mean, that's been one of those things that I've kind of tried to affect in the last few places that I've been, is a greater level of transparency and authenticity. And I think that's a major trend that I hope is here to stay. But I think there's just an appetite for it coming up.
Thank you. Jordan, I would ask the same question of you. What do you see as trends in your sector or more broadly that new graduates should be aware of?
So when I think of, I'm going to take a different approach when you mention more broadly, and that's what the trends in the workforce is going to be like, which I think, at least for my position, I can't speak for the others on the panel, but I have a very good feeling that I'm not going back to the office. A lot of these businesses that are hiring marketing students, they're hiring sales students, they want you to work from home because they don't have to pay all the overhead fees.
Right.
With that being said, there's obviously pros and cons to working from home. You don't have to sit in traffic, you're snowed in, no big deal. But again, there are cons to it as, I'm going to go back to the mentality factor of everything. And it's that the work-life balance might be better for time management, but when I close my laptop, I still almost feel like I'm in the office because I haven't gone anywhere. I haven't had a ritual like sitting in traffic for an hour and getting mad at people on the road. So although I think at least 50% of workforces are going to have their workers working from home at least 50% of the time, it is something that is changing, and new graduates need to be flexible because that is going to be the most important thing. As Mike did mention, nobody knows what's going to happen in the next week, month, year, 2 years from everything that's happened. So if you bring flexibility to the workplace and allow your employer to see that you adapt to an ever-changing environment, you're going to be extremely successful.
Thank you, Jordan. And Clayton, I'd like to ask you this question, interested in your take on it. What do you see as trends in your sector or more broadly in industry that our new graduates should be aware of?
Sure. First off, definitely would agree with both what Mike and Jordan said. Transparency is so much more important now than ever before. People want to know everything that you're doing as a company because of there's so many factors. And then absolutely, you need to be able to be adaptable and prepare to be able to work from home. There's times where that work-life balance is pretty hard, where it's going to be the end of your day, but you're going to still be sitting down at your computer because you're in your home or in your office, and it's being able to combat that. The trend I wanted to talk about, however, is really about simplicity. Today, because of everything that's going on and because how smart and all today's marketers and advertisers are today, people are getting just bombarded constantly with signals and trying to get you to do something. And it's very easy for people nowadays to get distracted or lost, or some other thing comes up and they stop doing whatever you want them to do as a marketer. So what I'm finding as a trend right now is the simpler, the easier it is on an end user, more than ever before, the better your campaigns are. And you really need to consider at the end of the day what you want to be asking of your target audience and how you can get them to achieve what you want as simply as possible. Whether that's for forms, reducing the number of form fields, whether it's reducing the number of click-throughs on the website for them to be able to check out. Easier is better now more than ever before.
Thank you. All excellent points. Thank you so much. And this time I will start with you, if I may, Jordan. What are the soft skills in your roles, your profession, that go above and beyond technical training, that have helped you to succeed?
And I was muted again. Okay. So I think the one that you always see on a resume is time management. And that's really the key when coming out of college or university, is that when you're in college and university, you're always looking to complete something, whether it's that big assignment or finishing exams. And then once that's all done, you take a big breath, you have some few days off, you can relax. That's doesn't necessarily happen in the workforce. So just having good time management and constantly put your nose to the grindstone. So one, you don't fall behind, but two, so you can get ahead for when your workload gets very, very large.
Thank you. Interesting. I'm immensely grateful to Jordan, Clayton, and Mike for sharing their time and expertise with us this afternoon. I'm also very fortunate and appreciative of the time our students have invested in their job search and post graduate activities by taking their time to join us here this afternoon.